You may think you have two choices in relationships: stay and endure, or leave and start over. What if there's a third option? And what if the real problem is not whether you stay or leave, but that you keep losing yourself either way? Now, I want to take a moment to speak directly to the men who are listening. You may not always say much in these conversations. You may listen more than you speak. So let me say this clearly. This message is for you too. It does take two in a relationship. I'm not your average granny. I'm Coach Granny, a 94-year-old retired psychologist and pastor, and now your coach, telling it like it is about what really matters when it comes to relationships and you. Who are you in the relationships you keep? That's the question we've been sitting with over the past few weeks. And by now, you may have begun to see something more clearly. You may have realized that in some relationships, you feel more like yourself, and in others, you feel like you are slowly disappearing. So now, instead of asking, can you keep yourself in your relationship? The deeper question is, how do you keep yourself in those relationships? Huh? Many people believe they only have two choices in relationships. They believe they must either stay or leave and start over. But here's the news. There's a third way, and it's a more honest way. You can learn how to remain yourself while you are in the relationship. Let me make it clear. Keeping yourself is not something you do one time. It's not one big decision. It's not a speech you give on a good day. Keeping yourself is something you do in small moments over and over again. It is the moment you feel something is not right, and instead of dismissing it, you pay attention. It's the moment you know something matters to you, and instead of minimizing it, you honor it. It's the moment you have something to say, and instead of swallowing it, you find a way to express it. And sometimes it's even simpler than that. Sometimes it is the moment you stop explaining away what you truly feel. The moment you stop saying, maybe it's just me, when deep down you know that's not right. Those moments really matter. You do not lose yourself all at once. Hear this, you lose yourself in pieces. And in the same way, you keep yourself in pieces. You keep yourself when you tell yourself the truth. Before you say anything to anyone else, you must first be honest with you. You must be willing to admit what you feel, what you see, what you need, and what you know. Not what you wish were true, not what you hope will change, but what is actually happening. Because when you lie to yourself, even gently, you begin to drift away from your own center. And once you drift, everything else becomes harder. And let me add this. The longer you ignore the truth, the louder your life has to become to get your attention. That's why confusion turns into frustration, and frustration turns into exhaustion. Exhaustion turns into disconnection, not because you're weak, but because you have been carrying what you were never meant to ignore. You keep yourself when you stay connected to your inner signals. Your body knows when something is off. Your spirit knows when something is not aligned. The feeling of confusion, that sense of tension, the quiet discomfort you can't quite explain, all of those are signals. And let me add this. The longer you ignore the truth, the louder your life has to become to get your attention. Because you have been carrying what you were never meant to ignore. Too many people have been taught to ignore them, to override them, to explain them away. But those signals are not there to confuse you. Honey, they are there to guide you. When you stay connected to what you feel, you stay connected to yourself. And when you stay connected to yourself, you stop needing the constant reassurance from the outside or from anybody. You begin to trust what you know. You keep yourself when you speak before resentment builds. Now, this doesn't mean you speak harshly or impulsively. It means you don't wait until you're so hurt, so frustrated, or so disconnected that your words come out with more pain than clarity. There is a way to speak honestly and still be grounded. There is a way to express what matters without losing your peace. But you must be willing to speak before silence turns into resentment. Because silence over time can become a form of self abandonment. And every time you silence yourself to keep something going, you teach yourself that your voice is negotiable. And your voice is not negotiable. You keep yourself when you allow the relationship to adjust to your truth. This is where it becomes difficult for many people. When you begin to show up more honestly, more clearly, more fully as yourself, the relationship will respond. Sometimes it will adjust, sometimes it will deepen, sometimes it will become more real. And sometimes it will resist. But your responsibility is not to manage the reaction. Your responsibility is to remain in your truth. Because if a relationship can only continue when you're shrinking, then what you are maintaining is not connection, it is accommodation. And accommodation cost. Now I want to speak to something I know many people feel. There is a fear that if you truly show up as yourself, you will lose a relationship. That if you stop adjusting, stop overgiving, stop silencing yourself, something will fall apart. And sometimes something does change. But let me offer you another way to see it. You're not losing love. You're revealing whether that love can hold the real you. And there is a difference. Because love that requires you to disappear is not love that can sustain your being, and your being matters. You're not here to maintain connection at any cost. You are here to live in truth, to grow in clarity, to feel at home within yourself, and to build relationships that can meet you there. That doesn't mean that every relationship will survive your growth, but it does mean that you will. And that's not a small thing. So if you find yourself in a relationship where you're questioning whether or not you can keep yourself, don't rush to an answer. Don't rush to stay. Do not rush to leave. Here's what Granny would suggest you do. First, learn how to stay with yourself. Learn how to listen to yourself. Learn how to honor what you feel and what you know. To sit with yourself without immediately trying to fix, explain, or escape what you feel. Because the moment you can stay present with yourself, you stop running from your own truth. And that's where your clarity begins. Learn how to speak with clarity and calm. Learn how to remain present in your own life, even while you're connected to someone else. Because the goal is not just to keep a relationship. I sure have to say that again. The goal is not just to keep a relationship. The goal is to keep yourself while you are in that relationship. Did Coach Renner say something? I hope you heard her. Because when you can do that, you're no longer choosing between connection and your own well being. You're choosing both in truth. Got that? Good. Until next week, peace, love, and joy. That's what you are. So be you.